So hello, today we're going to be doing a regrowth tint to cover the grey hair that we see there and a cut and blow dry, and this will be the finished look. So if you're interested to seeing how I achieve this look, then stick with me. The colours that I'm going to use on my client today is ANI. So she is about a base of a level 7 and I'm just going to lighten her just one shade. I have mixed ANI, which is like a natural ice. It's not got much warmth into it. I really like this colour, as long as it covers a grey, that's the main thing, and these colours do tend to cover grey very well. So I mixed it 1:1, which is the same amount of colour to the same amount of peroxide. The peroxide level that I used on this particular client was 6%. So I used 25 grams of colour and 25 grams of 6% peroxide. Mixed it all up, and then I go straight in and start applying my tint to the regrowth area, starting at the forehead, working all the way down to the nape of the neck in one straight line to start off my hot cross bun. Then I start from the crown, go just behind the ears, and as you can see, we're just going to paint the regrowth area there. So we paint on one side of the line and then we paint on the opposite side of the line. Making sure that we cover the hair and fully saturate the hair as well, because we're covering grey hair can be quite resistant. So which means that you could do all of this work, leave it on, and when you wash it off, it hasn't done anything. So if the hair is quite resistant, you might need to pre-soften first, which is just applying neat peroxide to the white areas which don't colour, drying it with the hairdryer, and then going in and mixing up your colour as I did at the beginning. So it just kind of gives it a bit of a head start if you need to pre-soften hair. This particular client doesn't need any pre-softening, so we are just going to apply the regrowth tint to each quarter now. So as I've done a hot cross bun, the hair is divided into 4 sections. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can decide to work on whatever section that you want, but taking into account the client's factors. So I know that my client, she has more white hair at the front of her head compared to the back of her head. So therefore, my consideration is I'm going to start painting the front 2 sections first rather than the back 2 sections. The most important thing that we have to consider with grey hair is the development time. Do not wash it off any earlier, because you want that full development time, and you want to make sure that the hair is fully covered. Also, just making sure that you measure correctly your tint and peroxide. If you do put too much peroxide in, it can be a bit of a wishy-washy colour and it won't have much depth to it. Alternatively, you could have also gone in possibly with 3% peroxide. That does still cover a lot of grey hair. If the hair is really resistant, then obviously it won't cover that grey hair, but 3% will cover grey hair instead of 6%, and you won't get much of a lift. But because I'm putting on a shade which is one shade lighter than my client's hair, I've decided to go in with the 6%, which will lighten one shade as well. When I do tint clients' hair, especially if they have grey, I often recommend that they have highlights done with a tint, and we can kind of alternate it. So this client that I have here, she's previously had half head of highlights on her hair, and then tint painted around the foils. So the next time she comes to visit in like 7-8 weeks time, we will just do the regrowth tint. But then the next time she comes to visit in 7-8 weeks time, we will do the we will do the highlights and the tint around it as well. So we kind of alternate highlights every other time, but a tint guaranteed every time to cover the grey. So this is the first section here that I am covering, making sure that I don't miss a single strand, especially around the hairline at the front. So I always section the hair or kind of separate it after. You don't really want to push it down on the client's head because it is the oxygen that will help develop the colour. So you need to give it that kind of bit of root lift there. So what I've done on the right hand side, I'm then going to repeat and do on the left hand side. So I'm just dipping in and painting at the bottom and also on the top all the way down. So you can continue watching this and following it step by step if you need to. This isn't speeded up at all, so you can actually see how quickly a service can be done in real time. So I'm going to do the front 2 sections, then I'm going to work on the back 2 sections as well. And the development time is for 45 minutes before washing it off. So I'm just coming up to the end of the application now, and I'm just going to double check, go round the whole hair and make sure that there's no areas missed. We're separating the hair to make sure that there's oxygen can get in and help develop the colour a bit better. If you've got any product left in your bowl, just go around, finish it off, put it on the hairline again, just to double it up and make sure that it does fully saturate. So 45 minutes this will be left on for, and then you'll remove it at the basin, making sure that you emulsify the colour off first, so you're rubbing tint into tint with a little bit of water on your fingers. And then using shampoo and conditioner, so 2 shampoos, 1 conditioner, and then you bring them back. So here is my client fully washed off. We're going to go into the haircut now. Now the client doesn't really do much with her hair, so you don't need to give her anything too technical that she needs to blow dry. She kind of just lets it flick out and do whatever it kind of wants to do. She's got a wedding coming up, so she wants to keep some of the length because she wants to have it put up for the wedding. So we need to take that into consideration. But we are just giving her a light trim with some layers going around it. So I've sectioned off the front 2 sections. So what you see on the right hand side is identical to the left, and I'm just going to twist up and clip out the way the top section. The back section is the first incision of the haircut, so we are going to call this the guideline. And this will give us the length of the whole of the back section and also the front section as well. So tilting the client's head forward, I'm just going to take about 1/2 inch to 1 inch off, just to freshen up those ends, and just making sure that it is the same both sides. Once it's okay, then move up to the next layer, making sure that the head is tilted slightly forward again. You'll often find every time a client wants to talk to you, they look up. So just bear that in mind so that you can put them back into the correct position. So we're just following the guideline. We're not going longer, we're not going shorter. We're doing exactly the same as the guideline now. And then the last section now. There might be a few layers from the previous haircut on this, so there might not be too much to cut off, but just double check. So once you've done the whole back section there, make sure you check the balance. Feel it with your fingers, make sure that it is the same left and right. And then what I'm going to do in here, I'm just giving, because she likes it flicky, I'm just flicking it over my finger and just taking off that top layer, so bending it round my fingers, so it gives it that kind of softness at the bottom. So it will help my client's hair flick out naturally, even if she just wants to wash and go. It'll just be that little bit lighter on top, so it's not so heavy. So tilting the client's head away from me. Just going to follow the line of the guideline and just work forward. Taking off that corner there. And then obviously what I do on the left side, I always tend to go on the left side first.
I didn't find a group or device named Light.
And then I'll copy it over and go on the right hand side. you've got your guideline, you can see it from the back, and just slightly angling the fingers downwards a bit, making it that little bit longer. Checking your points, you can always cut a little bit more off if need be. So once you have done that side, bring the top layer down and just meet the guideline again. And just double check your balance. It's as simple as that. I'm just going to go in now and cut a few layers in the back. Just point cutting, keeping it nice and soft. Pulling it out at a 90-degree angle. And just point cutting the hair. So I've done a few orange sections around the back. So I'm just going to pull the hair up towards my face here and just connect a bit of the front section in with the back section there. Just taking off the tips of the hair, point cutting. Pulling it right up towards my face and just taking the tips off. What I do to one side, obviously I'll copy and do on the other side. And I'm over directing the hair at the front back, just so it's not short at the front. So pulling it away from her will make it longer at the front. If I pulled it towards her nose in that direction, it'd obviously make it shorter at the front. Checking my points now, just balance checking, and I can just go in and just cross check horizontally, make sure that there's no areas that I might have missed. Keeping it nice and texturised, bit of point cutting. Making sure that the back also connects in with the front section. Whatever falls, just let it fall because it is too short to cut. So that there is the finished kind of look. And then we're going to go into the blow drying. So the product that I like to use is this perfect setting lotion there by Wella. It smells lovely as well. The clients often like it. Spraying it onto the hair evenly while it's a little bit damp. And then you want to rough dry the hair off until it's about 70% dry. And then section it ready to blow dry. So I'm just putting in my last clip now to section, and I'm going to get my round brush out ready to blow dry. So it's not too big, this round brush. It's kind of like a medium-sized round brush. And my client, she likes a bit of flicking out. So I'm going to stick with the flicking out at the bottom and try and create that look for her. Just making sure that we give the volume at the roots and then the flicking out at the end. So we don't want it flat on top still. We still want to give that volume, which will make the blow dry last that little bit longer. So we're not going to get much flick on the first layer, but as the hair goes up, it does tend to flick a bit better. If your client's hair isn't good at holding the flicks, then maybe you might need to use a stronger product like a mousse or something like that. So lots of volume on top and then changing it away and blow drying it from underneath, wrapping the hair around the brush. You can put in rollers if you wanted to secure the curl flicking up a bit more if you want to. So get that volume in at the roots, flick it around the brush and then blow dry from underneath upwards. So lots of volume, flicking it round and blow dry underneath upwards. So the underneath section is kind of flicked out, and you can see it's nice and flicky all the way round the head. The top section I'm going to do slightly different, so I could continue flicking this out if I wanted to, but because it's a little bit shorter, what I'd like to do is just have that going under, so it's a different direction. So we're going to still give it the root lift, keeping it nice and volumized on top, but when it comes to going under, we can actually blow dry it the opposite way as well. So this side actually might be a little bit more flicking out. Yeah, I'm going to flick out on this bit and then I'll blow dry it under on the next section. So it just makes it blend a little bit better. But you can see the colour has come out lovely as well. You can see some highlights going through there from previous service that we did. And the next time the client comes in, we will touch up those highlights a little bit. We don't need to put too much in, otherwise she'll end up too blonde, which is not what she wants to do. So lots of volume, and we're going to put the hair in the brush and just make sure it rolls under now, so it sits nicely going backwards. And we're going to move forward onto the next section. So that there is the finished look of the blow dry. As you can see, it's kind of sitting under on top and flicking out underneath. And it blends lovely. The colours look really nice as well. It's not too blonde and it's not too dark. Just going to finish it off with a little bit of hairspray there, just to smooth down any little spiky bits. So here is the finished look. I hope you really enjoyed watching the video. Please like and subscribe, because I will be trying to put up some more videos for you to enjoy.